a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Murder of Laquan McDonald. The murder of Laquan McDonald took place on October 20, 2014, in Chicago, Illinois, when the 17-year-old African-American was fatally shot by Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke. McDonald was reported to have been behaving erratically while walking down the street, and holding a folding knife with a 3-inch blade. Initially, internal police reports described the incident similarly, and ruled the shooting justified, and Van Dyke was not charged in the shooting at that time. But when the police released a dashcam video of the shooting 13 months later, on November 24, 2015, it showed McDonald had been walking away from the police when he was shot. That same day, Officer Van Dyke was charged with first-degree murder and initially held without bail at the Cook County Jail. He was released on bail on November 30. The city reached a settlement with McDonald's family. On October 5, 2018, Van Dyke was found guilty at trial of second-degree murder, as well as 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm. Protests following the shooting of McDonald demanded changes in police and judicial procedure, and for the dismissal or resignation of city and county officials. Rahm Emanuel won a second term in 2015 as mayor of Chicago, but Cook County State's Attorney Anita Alvarez lost her bid for re-election in 2016, at the request of Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan. The United States Department of Justice initiated a civil rights investigation into McDonald's death and the activities of the Chicago Police Department. It released its report in January 2017, describing the police as having a culture of excessive violence, especially against minority suspects, and of having poor training and supervision. DOJ and city officials signed a consent decree for a plan for improvement to be overseen by the courts. On June 27, 2017, 3 Chicago police officers were indicted for charges of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and official misconduct for allegedly attempting to cover up the events related to McDonald's shooting. On November 14, 2017, the grand jury overseeing the case was said to have completed its investigation, and no more officers would be indicted. Laquan McDonald. Laquan McDonald was from the 37th Ward of Chicago. According to NBC Chicago News, McDonald earned $1,100 working after school in the Youth Advocate program in 2014. His final report card showed that he had earned an A in personal finance and music, a B in world studies and reading, and a C in biology and algebra. One of McDonald's teachers described him as very respectful and reserved. The teacher added that McDonald was not aggressive. Toxicology reports later revealed that McDonald had PCP in his blood and urine at the time of the encounter with police. Jason Van Dyke. Jason D. Van Dyke was born in Hinsdale, Illinois and graduated from Hinsdale South High School in 1996. He earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from St. Xavier University in Chicago. A 14-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department and earning a salary of $78,012, Van Dyke is married and has 2 children. Since 2001, some 20 citizen complaints have been filed against Officer Van Dyke, but none resulted in disciplinary action. 10 of the complaints allege he used excessive force, and 2 involve the use of a firearm. A jury awarded a Chicago man $350,000 after determining Van Dyke employed excessive force during a traffic stop. One complaint involved verbal abuse by Van Dyke, who used a racial slur. Van Dyke may have been involved in the cover-up of a separate shooting in 2005. According to CNN, the Chicago Police Department has about 12,000 officers. Like Van Dyke, 402 officers have 20 or more complaints on file in the database. The most complaints against any officer, according to the database, is 68. The database shows that of the 20 complaints against Van Dyke, none resulted in discipline. 5 complaints in the database were not sustained, 5 were unfounded, 4 resulted in exoneration, 5 had unknown outcomes and 1 resulted in no action taken. Events. Shortly before 10 p.m. police were called to investigate McDonald at 4100 South Pulaski Road, responding to reports that he was carrying a knife and breaking into vehicles in a trucking yard at 41st Street and Kildare Avenue. When officers confronted McDonald, he used a knife with a 3-inch blade to slice the tire on a patrol vehicle and damage its windshield. McDonald walked away from police after numerous verbal instructions from officers to drop the knife, at which point responding officers requested taser backup, according to radio recordings released December 30, 2015. To Politico and NBC Chicago in response to Illinois Freedom of Information Act requests. Video of the shooting shows that Van Dyke was advancing on McDonald, while McDonald was walking away from Van Dyke when the first shot was fired. The first shot hit McDonald, who spun and fell to the ground. As McDonald lay on the ground, still holding the knife, Van Dyke fired more shots into him. In total, Van Dyke shot McDonald 16 times in 14-15 seconds, expending the maximum capacity of his 9mm semi-automatic firearm. Van Dyke was on the scene for less than 30 seconds before opening fire and began shooting approximately 6 seconds after exiting his car. The first responding officer said that he did not see the need to use force, and none of the at least 8 other officers on the scene fired their weapons. Laquan McDonald was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 10:42 p.m. Initial police report. The initial police portrayals of the incident, consisting of about 400 pages of typed and handwritten reports, prompted police supervisors to rule the case a justifiable homicide, and within the bounds of the department's use of force guidelines. The reports did not say how many times McDonald was shot and said McDonald was acting crazed and lunged at officers after refusing to drop his knife. Michael D. Robbins, one of the attorneys representing the McDonald estate, said his initial thoughts were that, "I didn't think there was a case if he had lunged at a police officer," adding, "The police narrative, without exception, is that the use of force is justified and necessary, which it sometimes is." One police report described that McDonald raised the knife across chest and pointed it at Van Dyke. Van Dyke told investigators that he feared McDonald would rush him with the knife or throw it at him, and he also recalled a 2012 police department bulletin warning about a knife that was also capable of firing a bullet, as well as throwing knives and also spring-loaded knives capable of propelling the blade. One report noted that McDonald's knife was in the open position, but, when announcing charges against Van Dyke, Cook County State's Attorney Anita Alvarez said the knife was found folded at the scene. Medical report. According to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office's autopsy report, which was revealed by journalist Jamie Calvin through a public records request, McDonald was shot in his neck, chest, back, both arms, right leg, and a graze wound to his left scalp. 9 of the 16 shots hit McDonald's back, and he was shot as he lay on the ground. His death was ruled a homicide. Dashcam video. 5 police videos of the incident are known to exist, including the view from a camera mounted in the marked police SUV that Van Dyke was riding in as he and his partner responded to the scene. The videos show that at least 8 police vehicles responded to the scene, but no video has been released from the other 3 vehicles. Chicago police officers are required to make sure that their video systems are working properly, and that they should submit a ticket if they are unable to download digitally recorded data. There were no repair tickets requested by any of the 3 vehicles missing video on the scene that night. When video footage was initially released, it did not contain audio. Although Chicago police dashboard cameras should automatically record audio when the video recording is activated. According to a CPD video, the in-car camera system automatically engages both the audio and the video recording when the vehicle's emergency roof lights are activated, and each vehicle has a front and rear camera and microphone. City officials initially blamed a technical problem, It was later revealed that the audio recording equipment in Officer Van Dyke's vehicle had been intentionally damaged, according to records from police technicians. Another car's audio was disabled because the microphones were in the glove compartment with the batteries inserted backwards. For another, a mobile startup recorder was corrupted, and a third was processing other video at the time. The Sun-Times reported that a sergeant reported officers throwing their microphones on the roof of the Jefferson Park police station to the Internal Police Review Authority a month and a half before the release of the Laquan McDonald dashcam video in an apparent protest against being recorded. Fraternal Order of Police President Dean Angelo defended officers in an interview, saying that operator error could be any number of accidents, adding, "Things always trickle downhill, so it winds up the responsibility of the beat officer. God forbid it's the responsibility of the agency." Burger King surveillance video. There was also a security camera at a nearby Burger King restaurant that may have captured the shooting, but during the time of the shooting there is a gap of 86 minutes in the recording. The manager of the restaurant said that on the night of the shooting, 5 Chicago police officers gained access to the video and passwords on the equipment, and that by the time the Independent Police Review Authority requested to view the footage the next day, it had been erased. The Tribune later obtained footage showing a Chicago police employee working on the restaurant's computers after the shooting. However, according to FBI sources, the video taken from the Burger King surveillance camera was not altered, and there were gaps throughout the surveillance video, because the system at Burger King was a mess. $5 million settlement. Attorneys for the estate of Laquan McDonald entered into negotiations with the city of Chicago to settle claims arising out of his death. The Chicago City Council approved a $5 million settlement to McDonald's family on April 15, 2015, although the family had not yet filed a wrongful death lawsuit. Emails from the mayor's office surrounding the case later revealed the settlement deal was finalized the day after the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, secured his second term by a runoff election. Part of the settlement agreement required that the video be sealed until investigations were completed, which could have delayed the release of the video for years. Aldermen were not shown the dashcam video before approving the settlement, although City Corporation Counsel Stephen Patton said the existence of the video influenced the council's decision to settle before a lawsuit, and details about the video were given to the Finance Committee during a hearing. The decision took only 5 seconds out of a 2-hour, 45-minute meeting to approve. Dick Simpson, a UIC political scientist and former Chicago alderman, said, "It's odd not only in this case, but maybe in others that there isn't more debate on the floor, because that's where the public gets informed." Requests for documents. Reporters noted inconsistencies between the narrative police told reporters, the autopsy, and an anonymous eyewitness account before the video was publicly released. A whistleblower expressed concern over the handling of the McDonald shooting a few weeks after the shooting, revealing that there was a video and that it was horrific, to journalist Jamie Calvin and attorney Craig Futterman. The pair issued a statement calling on Chicago police to release the dashcam video of the incident. The city of Chicago denied at least 15 requests for its release. Brandon Smith, a freelance journalist, and William Calloway, a community activist, filed a request for the video under the Freedom of Information Act in May 2015. When the request was denied, Smith filed a lawsuit against the city of Chicago in Cook County Circuit Court. Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan sent a letter to the police department the day before a court hearing, stating that they cannot withhold the video. She said that they had not substantiated their claim that releasing the video would interfere with an ongoing investigation or jeopardize a fair trial if any officer was charged. On November 19, Cook County Judge Franklin Valderrama denied the city's request for a stay, ordering the video to be released to the public no later than November 25. The city did not appeal the judge's decision. On November 24, after a press conference, the video was released that showed an officer fatally shooting McDonald. Investigations. A criminal investigation also began weeks after the shooting, when the Independent Police Review Authority forwarded the case to the state's attorney's office and the FBI. The U.S. Attorney's Office confirmed on April 13, 2015, that they had been conducting a federal criminal investigation of the McDonald case in conjunction with the state attorney's office, after contradictions were found between the initial police report and the dash cam video. The police report said that McDonald had lunged at an officer, but the video footage showed that McDonald made no lunges. The video does show that McDonald was swinging the knife in his right hand in a wide but aimless manner as he walked down the street, and also appears to show that McDonald turned slightly to look briefly at Van Dyke and another officer who are pointing guns at him, but that he continues to walk away from both officers at the moment Van Dyke opens fire on him. On December 2, 2015, Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan asked the U.S. Justice Department to launch a separate civil rights investigation of Chicago police tactics. DOJ enlarged the scope of their investigation based on early findings, issuing a report in January 2017. Van Dyke's trial. On November 24, 2015, Cook County State's Attorney Anita Alvarez announced that Van Dyke was charged with first-degree murder, and Van Dyke turned himself into authorities. He was initially held without bail at Cook County Jail for 6 days. Crowdfunding website GoFundMe shut down a page that was set up to raise funds for his legal defense shortly after it had raised just over $10,000. On November 30, Van Dyke was granted bail, set at $1,500,000. He posted $150,000, 10% of the bail, and was released from jail. On December 16, Van Dyke was indicted by a grand jury on 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of official misconduct. The 6 counts of first-degree murder were: on December 29, 2015, Van Dyke pleaded not guilty to the charges. Van Dyke's attorney, Daniel Herbert, said that his client fears for his life. A few protesters yelled at him and called him names as he approached the courthouse for his arraignment. Van Dyke had a history of complaints in his police career, but was cleared in most cases. After the arraignment, Herbert said he was looking for evidence to clear his client's name. On January 29, 2016, Herbert accused Chicago's mayor of tainting possible jurors, as he considered an effort to move the trial outside of Cook County. It's been dozens and dozens of comments where Rahm Emanuel essentially indicted my client. He's characterized my client's actions as being heinous without even seeing the videotape. So when the mayor of the city in which the pool of jurors is drawn from has taken such an adamant stance, it makes it extremely difficult for us to get a juror in here who is not predisposed to a finding of guilt. If convicted of first-degree murder, Van Dyke would have faced a prison sentence of 20 years to life. The case marked the first time in nearly 35 years that a Chicago police officer has been charged with first-degree murder for an on-duty fatality. On March 23, 2017, the charges against Van Dyke were 6 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery, 1 for each shot fired at Laquan McDonald. Jury selection began on September 5, 2018, and the trial commenced on September 17. On October 5, 2018, Van Dyke was found guilty of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery, but was found not guilty of official misconduct. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?